So, for this class, we'll start off with our introductory conversations. So we'll start with Taruki. Can you tell me, what is your name?
My name is Taruki.
And what is your favorite thing to do?
Play.
Very good. And what is your dream job?
I want to be a teacher.
Nice. Okay, and same goes for you, Ravini. What is your name?
My name is Ravini.
Hi, Ravini. And what is your favorite thing to do?
Play.
And what is your dream job?
I want to be a teacher.
Also good. Okay, and Nitika, can you tell me, what is your name? Hi, Nitika. And what is your favorite thing to do?
Play ticket.
And what is your dream job?
I want to be a doctor.
A doctor. Very nice. Okay, so our homework from a couple weeks ago was to talk about what you do after school. But because it's been a couple weeks since I've seen you guys, we'll just skip over this. Okay, so remember how I said we want to keep our special paper safe for the one that we've been taking our notes on? Can you please get out that paper? We're going to take some more notes for this week. Okay? If we can we get our cameras on? If not, that's okay. Also, can you give me a thumbs up or type in the chat if you have your paper? And if you finished writing all the notes from the slide. So has everyone found the paper? Or found a paper at least? Can you type in the chat or give me a thumbs up so I know?
Also, if everyone can turn on their cameras, please.
All right, so we'll start. What we're learning this week is called pronouns. So before we talked about adjectives, nouns, and verbs, okay? So I hope everyone wrote all these notes down already. So a pronoun, what is a pronoun? A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun, okay? So if you don't understand what that means, I put that definition here in Sinhala as well. Okay, so we use pronouns obviously to replace a noun. We use the pronouns I and you to replace people in the conversation. So what does that mean? That means we use I and you when we're talking to somebody, right? So let's say I'm talking to Taruki, then I would say I for myself and then you for Taruki. Instead of saying, Taruki, I had a great day today, I can say, or Taruki, Seneca had a great day today, right? I can say, Taruki, I had a great day today, right? To replace my name, the noun, in the conversation. Does that make sense? And instead of saying, Taruki, how was your day? I can say, how are you today, Taruki? Does that make sense? So we are replacing the noun in the conversation. So same thing goes for if I'm talking to Netuka or Ravini, right? All the people in the conversation I can refer to or say as you. And when I'm talking about myself, I can say I. Does that make sense to everybody? Can I get a thumbs up? But if you're confused, please let me know.
Does everyone understand? If not, you can say, I don't understand. It's okay.
Okay, we'll move on. So the next set of pronouns that we use is to replace someone else outside the conversation. So let's say me and Netuka are talking together, and let's say we're talking about my mother, right? Then we'll say she, right? Because we're talking about somebody else and she's not in the conversation. So these pronouns, she is for when we're talking about a woman, he for when we're talking about a man, it for when we're talking about a thing, right? And then they for multiple people. But sometimes we also use they for one person. It's a little confusing, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so does that make sense? Whenever we're talking about somebody else that's not in our conversation. So let's say I'm having a conversation with Netuka, or I'm talking to Netuka, I use these pronouns if I want to talk about somebody else or something else. Okay. So has everyone got it down? Okay. So when are they used? So we normally use I or me when talking about ourselves, right? And I'm sure everyone has already knows what those words are, but I want to put a title to it, right? So when we say I or me, that's a pronoun. And I'm sure everyone has already used it before, so it shouldn't be too confusing. Okay, now we use you when referring to another person within the conversation. So I'm talking to you, right? Instead of saying I'm talking to Ravini, I can say I'm talking to you, right? Because you're in my conversation. Okay, so then we have she or her when we're referring to a female not in the conversation. So if there's a girl who's not in the conversation or not talking to us, then we can say she or her. Now, if we're talking about a man in a conversation, then we're talking about he or him, right? All right, so can everyone write this down in their notes and then we'll move on. And then please give me a thumbs up when we're done.
So when you are ready, either of you, you can turn on your mic and say ready, or you can give a thumbs up so that the teacher can continue. Thank you.
She is my mother.
Still muted. I think you're still muted, Seneca.
Sorry. Very good. That is a great example of using a pronoun, right? Because a pronoun, your mother is not in the conversation. So when we refer to her or when we talk about her, we say she, right? She is my mother. Okay. We're gonna move on. So now we're going to continue on to they, them, and it. So they, them typically refers to a group of people. So let's see, I see a group of people walking by, and I'm going to say, oh, they look very nice, or oh, their clothes are very nice, right? Then we say they for many, many people. But what if we don't know what this person looks like? What if I have never seen my mailman? Then what do I say? Do I say she or he? Well, then we say they, right? If we don't know who they are or what they look like, or if they're a boy or a girl, we say they. So it can be used in two different ways. We can use it to refer to a big group of people or to just one person, right? Okay. Now, we also have the pronoun it. So it refers to an object. So remember, a noun can be a person, a place, or a thing, right? So when we are talking about a thing, we can say it, right? So right here I have my calculator. So I can say it is my calculator. I have my cup here. This is it, right? It is my cup. There's lots of things, right? But they or them refers to a group of people, so many people, and it can also refer to somebody who you don't know, right? Okay, so does that make sense, everybody?
They are group of people.
Yeah, there are a lot of people, right? Because there's a group of people. Okay. So can everyone write this down in their notes so that they know when to use them? Okay. So I hope everyone has had time to write these down. I'll give maybe another 2 more minutes and then we'll move on. Okay. So we'll move on now. So I want to show how we've already used these pronouns before, right? So the week that I last saw you guys, we were talking about jobs, right? So we talked about being a doctor or a farmer, and we've already used these pronouns, right? So we talked about he. There you go, that's a pronoun, right? And there's I right here, another pronoun. We've already used them so many times. Okay, and we also have you. And right here. And we also have it right here, right? So do you see every single place that we've talked about prior, we've used pronouns already. So this is not something new to us, right? This is just putting a title to what we already know, right? Okay, so we have he, we have you, we have I, and then we have you again, right? So these are all pronouns. Now, can anybody tell me in this area right here? Can you tell me where there are some pronouns? So remember, our pronouns are I and you, and then she, he, it, and they, okay? So can anyone tell me where they see a pronoun in this section Netuka, can you tell me where you see the pronouns in this section? Okay, then what about Taruki and Ravini? We have the pronouns. So that's what we've been talking about, right? The pronouns in this section right here. So I already have one highlighted, right? I is a pronoun. Can you tell me if you see any other pronouns?
I am.
Yes, I and I am is a pronoun. Can you give me some more pronouns? Because I see 3 more in here. Let's highlight all of them.
You.
You, very good. And how about the other 2?
I am.
Yeah, I think and I am. So these are both pronouns, right? So Taruki and Ravini, can you do the same thing? Can you show me where the pronouns are in this section right here?
I.
Yes, right. And how about in this sentence?
I.
Yes, very good. And what about this one? This one is also I, but we also have I over here, right? Excuse me. Okay, so Shanuka, I see you've just joined, but what we were talking about this week is pronouns. So these are words that replace nouns, right? So some examples that we have of pronouns are I, you, and then she, he, it, and they, okay? So if you want, you can write that down on a piece of paper somewhere. Okay, so can you tell me in this section which words are the pronouns? So I already have one highlighted. I, very good.
I.
Also I, and how about over here? I, yes. You, very good. I am giving you right.
You.
Yes, and you again, right? Okay, so there you go. That's all your pronouns here that we've all highlighted. Okay, now we have some more pronouns on this part, right? On this section. So we have this man is a doctor. He gives us medicine. He helps us to feel better. He helps the patients. Okay, so can anybody tell me where the pronouns are in this section? Netuka, can you tell me where the pronouns are in this section?
This.
This is not a pronoun, but he is, right?
Mm.
So he is a pronoun. Yes, very good. So all
He.
very good, right? And this entire slide, all the,
He.
yes, very good, right? These are all pronouns. He gives us medicine. He helps us to feel better, right? Because we're replacing the word doctor, right? We can say the doctor gives us medicine and the doctor helps us feel better, or the doctor helps the patients. But instead, we're replacing it with he because it's shorter and easier to say, right? We say, he gives us medicine, he helps us to feel better, he helps the patients, right? So instead of referring to him by his name or his job or his title, right? We use the word, we use pronouns. Okay? All right. So I want to try and use that for another job. So this job right here, can anybody tell me what this job is right here? Netika or Taruki and Ravini, can anybody tell me what this job
Is.
is? A teacher. So can we put this
Really?
into can we put this into a sentence?
This is the teacher.
Yes. This is a teacher. Very good. And now we're going to use our pronouns. So obviously we see that this teacher, she has a bun, she has long hair, she's very pretty, and that means she's a girl, right? So when we are talking about a girl that's not in our conversation, what pronoun do we use?
Is a very.
Yes. Right? We use she. We use she. She is very pretty. Thank you, Neduka. So this is where we use our pronouns. Instead of saying this teacher is very pretty or my teacher is very pretty, we say she is very pretty, right? That is where we use our pronouns. And we learn this in order to make it easier for us to make shorter sentences and have to talk less, okay? All right. Now, can anybody give me another sentence and use a pronoun she?
Is very.
Yes,
Very nice.
she is very kind. And Taruki or Ravini, can you give me another sentence about this teacher?
She is very nice.
She is very nice. Anything else? How about what she's wearing?
She has a long hair.
Yes, she has long hair. Okay, now let's move on to this job right here. Can anybody tell me what this job is?
This is a nurse.
Very good. This is a nurse. Now let's start off with, what pronoun do we use when we're talking about this person? Can anybody tell me what pronoun we use? She, very good. She. Now let's make a sentence about her.
Very fat. She is very.
We can say she's very big, right?
She is in hospital.
Yes, she is in a hospital. Okay, that's very good, right? So here we have two sentences using our pronouns she, right? We also have she is very pretty, she is very kind. So we use she a lot, right? We use our pronouns a lot. Okay, now we're going to move on. So let's pretend that we're having a conversation with this teacher. Now, what pronouns do we use when we're having a conversation with somebody? When we're talking to somebody, what two pronouns do we use? When we're talking about ourselves, we say I, and when we're talking about somebody else in the conversation, we say you. So let's say we are talking to this teacher, right? So for example, we already did this here, right? We made questions and answers. So for example, I'm talking to this teacher and I ask her a question. I say, what is my homework today? Then our pronoun is my, right? What is my homework today? Or how are you doing today? Now, the pronoun in this conversation is you, right? Okay. Now, Taruki and Ravini or Netuka, can you give me a sentence on what you would say if you're talking to the teacher? Netuka. Excuse me. If you are having a conversation with the teacher, what would you say? Or if you're going to ask any question at all, what is a question that you would ask your teacher?
What is my homework?
Very good.
Yesterday.
What was my homework yesterday? Right? And then our pronoun right here is my. And how about another question? Taruki and Ravini, can you tell me another question that you would ask your teacher?
What is your name?
Yes. What is your name? And our pronoun is right here, right? Your. Okay, now let's say that the teacher is talking to us. What would the teacher say if she was talking to us? Or let's pretend that you are the teacher, right? If you were the teacher, what would you say to your students? Netuka, can you give us a sentence? Pretend you are the teacher. What do you say to your students?
Good morning, children.
Yes. Good morning, children. And how about a sentence that a teacher would say that uses pronouns?
Start today's lesson.
Yes. We will start today's lesson. Okay. So I'm going to give a sentence, for example, have you finished the homework? Right? For example. And now the pronoun in this sentence is you, right? Have you finished the homework? Or I saw you were not being good at the playground, right? I is the pronoun referring to myself, and then you is a pronoun referring to somebody else, right? So in this sentence, we're using both I and you in the sentence, which are two of our pronouns. Okay, so Netika, can you give me another sentence with or any pronouns as an example? Okay, if not, that's okay. So let me go over what we've learned today in class so far. So today in class, we've learned about our pronouns and then we've applied them. So here we've applied pronouns for somebody else that's not in the conversation, right? And that is she. And over here, we've used he. And then we've also used pronouns for referring to people in the conversation. So we've used you and I, and then your and my. So these are all pronouns. Because class is a little bit small today, we'll skip this part and then we'll go to our homework. So, sorry, this is not our homework. Oopsies. Our homework for this week is to write a conversation that you have with somebody, right? Write down a conversation. So normally the homework is to have a conversation with somebody and then come to class and talk about it, right? So today in class, for this week's homework, I want you to have a conversation with somebody and then come to class and tell me your conversation, right? So this can be about anything. You can talk to anyone you want, right? But I want you to write down this conversation and then highlight the pronouns. Highlight or underline the pronouns. So basically what we've been doing today. So on your paper or on a paper, have a conversation with somebody and then write down everything you say and then highlight or underline the pronouns that we've talked about today, okay? All right, and then as always, please check the Moodle for homework and then remember to save the pen and pencil and paper that you've used from this week. So the pencil and paper that you used to write all these notes on, make sure you save that for next week. Okay? All right. So that's all I have for class today. Thank you everybody for coming and for having your cameras on and for participating. Make sure you do the homework for this week. And also, before we leave, because we have Sri Lankan New Year coming up and people are celebrating, we will not have class until the 30th. So that means, if everyone can see my screen, we will not have class until this week. So in 3 weeks' time, we will have class again, but we won't have class this week. Sorry, next week. Okay? So for Sri Lankan New Year, there will not be class. I hope everyone heard me. For Sri Lankan New Year, there'll be no class for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll come back to class on April 30th, okay? So mark your calendars, make sure you come back to class. All right, goodbye, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, teacher. Thank you,
Bye.
teacher.
Thank you for coming.